So, chat, I want to talk to you about some drama that went down on Twitter, and it's something that's got, understandably, a lot of heated emotions on both sides. You know, as you guys know, this month is Pride Month. There's a lot of talk about the LGBTQ plus community on social media right now. And you've got people who are making some statements that are pro LGBTQ plus and anti-LGBTQ plus. And it's just like a really hot topic right now. And people have a lot of strong feelings about it. So when a popular streamer known as NickMercs gave his opinions on Pride being celebrated in schools, a lot of people took issue with it. And I want to preface this by saying this. Maybe I'm a little bit biased here because of the fact that, you know, I've had interactions with NickMercs in the past. Those interactions have been positive. As you guys know, we had a little bit of a feud going on about a year or two ago. I gave some criticism of him that he didn't take too kindly. He referred to me as Burger Neck. And I know you're thinking like, wait, you said you had positive interactions with this guy. This guy's like calling you Burger Neck, basically, you know, hinting at the fact that you're fat and stuff like that. Like, how is that a positive interaction? Well, there was some memery going back and forth and whatnot, and I kind of like took it lighthearted. He called me Burger Neck, and so I like changed my Twitter handle to Burger Neck at the time with a hamburger emoji, and he thought it was kind of funny. So he reached out to me. We had a conversation, and it was a positive conversation. We had some middle ground there, which overall was a pretty positive experience in the end of it all. I don't think NickMercs is a bad guy, okay? But I can understand why what he said upset a lot of people, especially in the LGBTQ plus community. What exactly did he say that sparked controversy? Let's go ahead and let's just dive into it. So, as some of you guys may know, there was a bit of a kerfuffle, or I don't know if you'd quite call it like a riot. There was some protesting that got heated that went on in Glendora, California, or Glendale, California, rather. Which, by the way, when I heard about this, you know, a lot of you guys know I live in California. California is easily one of the biggest lefty states in the United States, very progressive state. So when I heard that this happened in my state, I was like dumbfounded. Like, really? This happened in California of all places? Really bizarre. But Glendale, California, they had a school board meeting to vote on and approve the celebration of Pride Month in schools. And there were some people that took issue with that, and it kind of resulted in some violent protests taking place outside of the school board meeting. So a lot of people have been talking about this on social media, myself included, all right? So somebody quote tweets a video of this and says, "This happened 4 blocks from my Overwatch League apartment. Americans are in a sad place right now. Let people love who they love and live your own life." And I think that's a pretty fair way to put it, right? This is where the controversy comes in. NickMercs responded to this tweet and said, "They should leave little children alone. That's the real issue." And again, I can understand why people look at this tweet and they're like, okay, NickMercs, he's a hateful person. NickMercs is a homophobe. NickMercs is a transphobe, etc., right? I can understand why people are upset by this tweet. But again, I have to be honest, and I understand some people are going to disagree with my take here. And if you disagree with my take, whether you're in the chat, whether you're in my comment section, whether you're sharing this video on social media and you disagree with my take, that's totally fine. You're welcome to disagree with me. And maybe I'm a little bit biased because of the positive interactions I've had with the guy in the past. I don't think NickMercs is a bad guy. I don't even think that NickMercs is a hateful guy. I think he said something coming from a place of ignorance, because you have so many people, especially far-right figures on the internet, when they hear about celebrations of pride in schools, they kind of portray it like, oh, they're trying to groom kids to be gay. They're trying to groom kids to be trans. They're trying to indoctrinate our children into LGBTQ plus lifestyles. Now, granted, anybody who knows anything about this knows you can indoctrinate someone into that lifestyle, okay? You don't turn someone gay by teaching them about gay people. You don't turn someone trans by teaching them about trans people. You're either gay or trans or you're not, all right? So there's a lot of these people that are talking about this stuff at the far right on the internet, basically spewing literal lies about what's actually happening here. And unfortunately, you have people that are, in my opinion, very normie in the way they think of things. Like, I think NickMercs, this is not a political person. This is somebody who's probably very normie in terms of their lifestyle, they see this stuff on social media and they buy into it because they don't know any better, right? So I think that NickMercs isn't coming from a place of hatred here. I think he's coming from a place of ignorance. All right. And I don't mean that as a slight. I don't mean any disrespect by that. But I think a lot of people, when they see statements like this, they jump to the conclusion that this person's saying this because they're hateful. Right. And I think that if you're willing to have a conversation with a lot of these people, you'd very quickly realize that it's not them coming from a place of hate. It's them coming from a place of ignorance. And if somebody was willing to have a sit down with them and have a conversation, and you kind of explained, this is what it actually means to celebrate Pride in school. It's not about grooming. It's not about indoctrination. It's not about teaching, LGBTQ sex lifestyles to kids or anything like that. No, it's about acceptance. And it's about teaching kids to treat other people who may be different than them equally and stuff like that. If you have these conversations with them, I think that they would be less inclined to make statements like this. So long and short of it, I don't think NickMercs is anti-LGBTQ or hateful towards LGBTQ plus people or anything like that. I just think he's coming from a place of ignorance. But anyway, let's dive into this and let's see kind of like what happened moving forward from this statement. So we have Dexerto here tweeting, NickMercs is facing criticism for a tweet regarding Pride Month in schools, and they link to an article that kind of elaborates on it a little bit further. NickMercs under fire for anti-LGBTQ plus comment about Pride Month in schools. So let's see what Dexerto has to say here. Popular Twitch streamer and FaZe Clan co-owner NickMercs Kolchev? Is that how you pronounce that? I don't know. I'm probably butchering. It's NickMercs, okay? Has come under criticism. Come in for criticism? How is that a typo or something? That doesn't make. Has come in for criticism. Anyway, after suggesting that little kids should be left alone in regards to Pride Month being recognized in schools. On June 7th, a tweet went viral showing a large brawl outside of a school. It is widely reported that the incident was caused by a school board decision to acknowledge June as Pride Month. The brawl resulted in 3 arrests. Esports casting legend Puckett commented on the fight that had taken place not far from where he used to live, and that, quote, Americans are in a sad place right now. Let people love who they love and live your own life. NickMercs responded to Puckett's tweet stating, they should leave children alone. That's the real issue. And again, understandably, people are taking a lot of issue with what he said here. The response quickly sparked backlash, with some accusing NickMercs' tweet of being hateful towards the LGBTQ plus community. Optic Hutch also called out Nick, telling him the gays are going after your kids is the same tired-ass claim that folks with feeble minds have been saying for decades and decades now. It's not new. And, the rest of the article just kind of goes into, like, people's responses of it. I do want to highlight some responses, though, so let's take a look at a couple of those. So we have Puckett here. Who is this they, and what terrible act is everyone afraid of? I think / hope the goal of most of them is to reduce child suicides. This is done through acceptance and removing the stigma of feeling / being different. As a dad, I'm struggling to see the harm. Gay doesn't equal pedo. And I'd obviously have to agree with that. Let's take a look at another response here. We have Vexed Loopy, who says, I will never work / watch a MFAM event again. I cannot in good conscience work for a bigot. And again, I do have to emphasize this. I don't think NickMercs is a hateful person. I genuinely think he's coming from a place of ignorance. That's just my take on it. If you disagree, totally fine. I don't think he's a hateful person. I just think he's ignorant. I am a Marine and I swore to uphold and protect the Constitution, which protects protests and demands equality for all, peace and love, unless you're gay or trans. What a loser. Somebody else chimed in on this. F.A. Lucian, I think that's how you pronounce that. It's a shame. When I got a chance to play with NickMercs, he was so sweet towards me. His chat was extremely kind and trans-affirming and genuinely so sweet. That's another example of why I don't think he's a hateful person, right? I genuinely don't think that. His chat was extremely kind and trans-affirming and genuinely sweet. MFAM treated me so well. But what I saw today broke my heart. Unfortunate to see him stoop down to the groomer narrative. Nick, if you happen to see this by sheer chance, I would love to talk with you and call again. give you the perspective of how dangerous this rhetoric is and how foolhardy and misguided it is. If he doesn't see this, fair enough, just really disappointed. And, you know, that's one thing that a lot of people need to understand about like normie types when they start engaging in a lot of these conversations, right? They say something that to them seems harmless, but they don't understand that there are other people who say those exact same things, but they're not saying it in a harmless way. They're saying it to spread very dangerous and harmful rhetoric. You know, for someone like NickMercs who makes a statement like, hey, don't celebrate pride in my schools. Obviously, that's not what he's saying, but that's what he was alluding to, right? You know, I want to be able to talk to my kids about this myself rather than have a school talk to it. He's coming from a perspective of like, hey, you know, I just want to have this talk with my kids. I don't want my school to have the talk. I want to have this talk with my kids. You know, a pretty harmless way of looking at it. But what he doesn't realize is that there are people who are trying to do genuine harm to the LGBTQ plus community that say those same things to insinuate that they're trying to groom kids into being gay, or they're trying to groom kids into being trans, right? So that's why I think having conversations, rather than instantly demonizing people like this, normies like this, who say stuff like this, rather than instantly demonizing them and assuming that they are transphobic or homophobic or anything along those lines, rather than jumping to those conclusions, I think it's valuable to have conversations with these people so you can educate them on, hey, you know, the thing that people are saying on social media is happening in schools that celebrate pride. That's not really what's happening. Here's what's happening. It's about teaching people acceptance and teaching people how to treat each other equally, et cetera, et cetera. It's about giving support to trans kids or giving support to, you know, gay kids and stuff like that and making them feel accepted where in the past they haven't felt so accepted before, right? You know, these are positive things, and also explaining to them, this is why what you said is harmful. This is why what you said people take issue with, because it contributes to a very negative and bad rhetoric that legitimately harmful people use to spread bad messages about the LGBTQ plus community. I think it's important to have conversations with these people rather than instantly assuming this guy's a transphobe and a homophobe. Now, NickMercs did respond on stream to a lot of the claims being made about him. We have some clips here Dexerto actually tweeted out. And we're going to actually take a look at these clips to see what he had to say. So here we go.
Simply feel that I want to be the one and my wife wants to be the one to speak with our child about stuff like that. And that was the tweet. That was the tweet. You can take the tweet if you want and you can spin it, flip it, flop it, quote tweet it. You can put 10 paragraphs on top of it. You can do whatever you want to it to make you feel better if that's what you want to do. But that was the tweet, okay? So if you came here to hear that, I hope you feel a little better about it. I didn't mean to upset anybody. I know that I did. I'm not apologizing about the tweet because I don't feel like it's wrong. I'm going to stand by what I said. I'm not going to delete the tweet. You know, I just want to make sure everybody understands exactly the point I was trying to make by tweeting my response. You know, and I do want to apologize to Puckett though. I feel like I might have brought a little bit of shit his way, man. I didn't mean to do that, but.
All right, so that's his statement on there. He was essentially saying, like, this wasn't meant to be anything negative or hateful or anything like that. It was just, I want to have this conversation with my kids. I don't want a school to have this conversation with my kids. And that's where I think the ignorance comes in, right? Because what conversation is happening? I think a lot of people, when they hear about pride in schools, they're thinking that it's like a sex ed thing for like, you know, gay and trans people and stuff like that. And that's not what's happening. As I mentioned before, this is about teaching people to accept others who may be different than them, teaching kids to accept others that may be different than them, and giving support to kids who may feel different because they're gay or because they're trans or something like that. I think that's a positive thing. Teaching acceptance to kids. I remember back when I was in high school, right? When I was in high school, if a kid, maybe they were closeted gay and they hadn't come out yet, or maybe they had come out, like these people, they didn't feel accepted at all, right? They didn't feel accepted in their own schools, in their own communities, because there was no support network for them there. So when I look at something like a school considering, hey, let's, you know, let's acknowledge Pride Month in school. All I'm thinking is, hey, this is a great opportunity to teach kids who aren't gay or who aren't trans, these people exist and they should be treated equally just like anyone else. And for the people that are gay or are trans, then they could look at that and say, hey, look at, my school accepts me, my community accepts me. This is awesome. And they can feel like they're actually accepted. And I don't see anything negative about that. Like, I feel like some of the people, when they hear this stuff, they think that like the kids are going to go to school, a school that like celebrates Pride Month, and they're going to go watch gay porn or something like that. And like, that's not what's happening. I'm sorry. It's just not, right? So when I see someone like NickMercs say something like, I want to have this conversation with my kids, what conversation are you having? Are you having a conversation of acceptance and tolerance? Are you teaching your kids that these people exist and they should be treated equally like everyone else? Because I don't see what the difference is between having that conversation with yourself as a parent or letting the school have that conversation, right? I don't see what the issue is. So I think that he's coming from a place of ignorance and not understanding what pride in schools actually means. There was another clip. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at the other clip. Here's the other clip.
Right? And that's I just don't think it's any place for a teacher or a school. I don't think it's the place to speak about things like that. And it's not that I think that it shouldn't be spoken about. If that's what you got from that tweet, then you're just wrong. You're just wrong. I don't have any quarrel with anybody in here. I don't have any quarrel with people on the internet. It wasn't an anti, I guess, gay tweet. That wasn't what it was. Now listen, if you have issues with me or if you have issues with that tweet, then hey, listen, I'm down to agree to disagree. That's fine. We can agree to disagree. But if you think that I hate you because you're a certain way, you just couldn't be any more wrong. That's not the truth.
Okay, so that's kind of his statement on it. And again, like, I genuinely don't think he's a hateful person. I don't think he has a hateful bone in his body for anyone in the LGBTQ plus community. I really truly believe that. I'd be willing to bet money on that he is not a hateful person. I just think he does. I don't think he's well educated on what pride in schools means. That's what I believe. Now, as a result of this, because again, this tweet did spark a lot of outrage, and for some people, his response only made it worse. Because a lot of people wanted an apology. He didn't give one because he said, hey, this is what I meant by this, and I don't think I was wrong to say that. All right? Obviously, a lot of people disagree with him. I'll even tell you guys right now, I disagree with him. Right? I don't agree with his take. I think pride in schools is fine. When he says he didn't think he said anything wrong, I think he did. Now, I don't think he intentionally said anything wrong, but I think that what he said really caters to people who have legitimately hateful views towards the LGBTQ plus community. And they can look at that and say, wow, look at this big streamer who believes what I believe. And they can use that to bolster their own hatred. This is what I'm talking about when I say that people don't understand that just because their intent behind something they said may not be to be harmful, people can interpret that in harmful ways, and they can use that to bolster their own legitimate hatred and bigotry, right? So this is why I say it's another opportunity to have a conversation with people like this and educate them on this rather than villainize them, rather than instantly villainize them. And who knows? Maybe you have a conversation with somebody who has a view like this and you find out, oh, no, they actually are a hateful person. I don't think that's the case with Nick, but like maybe you have a conversation with someone like that and then you realize, oh shit, no, they're actually hateful. But at least you took the opportunity to have a conversation with them to try and educate them on the situation and understand where they're coming from instead of just instantly like blanket label, this is a transphobe, this is a homophobe, right? You know what I mean? So obviously the tweet and his response sparked a lot of backlash, right? And this is what, unfortunately for him, Call of Duty responded to. We have Charlie Intel tweeting, it appears Activision has removed the NickMercs bundle from the Warzone and Modern Warfare 2 store this evening. Activision has not commented on why it has been removed, but the removal of his bundle comes a day after NickMercs' recent comments about the LGBTQ plus community. The official Call of Duty account responded with, "Due to recent events, we have removed the NickMercs operator bundle from the Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone store. We are focused on celebrating Pride with our employees and our community." So Activision confirmed they removed his bundle from the store. Now I can understand why a company would make a move like this. Whenever you have someone making a controversial statement that's getting a lot of backlash your way, understandably, as a company, you're going to want to disassociate yourself with those statements. Hey, you know what? We don't agree with that, so we're going to have to pull out. I think it's unfortunate that it came to this point, and I got to be honest, I don't necessarily agree with the decision, but I understand why this decision is being made. Dr. Disrespect decided to chime in on his removal from the Call of Duty DLC on the store. "Who's running Call of Duty PR and marketing now? Same people from the Purple Snakes," referring to Twitch. "Pathetic." So obviously, Dr. Disrespect is not the biggest fan of them engaging in this, like removing his DLC from the game. I just noticed Baked Alaska responded, the Rainbow Mafia. What the fuck? I've been seeing this guy pop up everywhere lately. Holy shit. We have Hassan here reacting to the statements made by NickMercs. Let's go ahead and take a look at see what Hassan had to say on this.
Nick's Norman audience is agreeing with him. Yes, because the way he understands the situation is very similar to like the Norman stance and that's why right-wing agitprop is very nefarious. What do I mean by this? Because the right have basically turned this conversation of like acceptability and acceptance and like trying to stop kids from getting bullied for being different into a conversation that is entirely separate from reality. It's unmarried from reality. It basically has turned into if there are some of these kids are going to be gay, some of these kids are going to be queer, and that's perfectly normal. And schools becoming a more accepting environment for that sort of thing is a perfectly normal situation. But right-wingers took that and basically said, oh, that means they're trying to groom your children into being gay, groom your children into being trans. That's definitely a real thing that can happen. And schools are desperately trying to do that. So, and that's not true. And that's just, it could not be far away. It is just completely and objectively untrue, right?
Okay, so it looks like Hassan and I are on the same page here, where these bullshit narratives are being pushed by the far right, and then normies like NickMercs are picking up on it, and they're buying into this shit, and they're believing it. Like, you have somebody like Dream Fan Films in my chat literally spewing the same bullshit narrative. And I'm not going to assume that Dream Fan Films is being malicious here. Maybe they're falling for the same bullshit narratives as well. They said in my chat, oh, somebody got rid of it. Let me go ahead and read it anyway. They said, but more importantly, these are extremely young kids in elementary schools. Why are we teaching them sexual things at that age? And LGBT is inherently a sexual ideology. The mere existence of gay people is not sexual in itself. To say that would be to suggest that gay people are just going around fucking in front of everyone. And that's not the case. Like, gay people exist, and their existence in itself is not sexual in nature. Like, it's insane to me that people think that. You're not teaching sexual shit to kids when you're acknowledging Pride Month in schools. You're teaching kids acceptance of people who are different than them. And I genuinely don't see an issue with that. I really don't. So it looks like Hassan and I are on the same page. NickMercs is not someone that's hateful. NickMercs is someone that's ignorant in this situation. And again, I don't mean that as a slight. There are lots of people who are ignorant to things that chime in on things that they don't actually know what the fuck they're talking about. And that's, as I said before, an important opportunity to educate them on this stuff. Beerman Prophecy says that would imply that straight people are teaching about straight ideology. Yeah, pretty much, right? Like, I remember learning about, gay people in school and stuff like that. And again, it was not from the perspective of like, they're teaching me about gay people so that I can be indoctrinated into being gay, or they weren't showing me like sexual shit or whatever. It's just like, hey, these people exist and they deserve to be treated like people just like you and I do. Right? Oh man, school taught me about gay people. That obviously means that I would later grow up to, no, I didn't grow up to be gay. I didn't grow up to be trans. I'm a straight fucking Mexican dude, you know? So like, it's just silly to me. Anyway, so Dr. Disrespect chimed in on this situation again on stream. Dr. Disrespect uninstalled COD and said he won't return until they apologize or add NickMercs operator bundle back into the game. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at this.
What we got to do is uninstall the game. Number one. I mean, don't get a mistaken. This year's Call of Duty is the worst in its franchise.
Can I be honest? Okay, I'm going to be honest with you guys, chat. I actually, back in the day, was a pretty big fan of the doc. Like, I liked the doc. But this shit is so cringy and performative. Like, what the fuck?
But that decision by COD's PR marketing team, I'll tell you right now, man.
Like, I get it, because, like, Doc's friends with, like, NickMercs, right? Doc is friends with NickMercs, so I get wanting to stand by your boy. But, like, I feel like maybe Doc is coming from the same place of ignorance. I feel like Doc is coming from the same place of ignorance, and that he doesn't understand why what Nick said has the ability to contribute to harmful ideas. Like, I genuinely feel like these people are just, they're gamer-brained idiots that just don't get it, right? That's what they are. All they do is play video games all fucking day, so they don't understand this shit. So when they see people saying stuff like this on social media, like, oh, they're teaching, you know, gay sex, and, you know, that you can, like, become trans, and you could just, like, one day just snap your fingers and you could become a woman, and they'll like, you know, mutilate your genitals and stuff like that. When people see this stuff on social media that are normies, they just believe it. Because they don't fucking know, right? They're not like me or some of the people in my chat that actually are knowledgeable in this stuff. They have no fucking clue what they're talking about. They just see people say shit on social media. It's like, well, enough people said it, so it must be true, right? They're coming at it from a normie perspective. And as a result of it, you have stupid statements like this.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one to digest for the two-time. I feel like, A, they either need to apologize publicly to him or reinstate his bundle in order for me to consider playing Call of Duty again. That's where I'm at.
Or let's be honest, if they offer him a payday, he'll start playing the game again. He'll start playing the game again if they offer him a payday.
Thanks for the money, dummy.
Okay. All right. So that was Doc there. We have another clip from Hassan chiming in on what Dr. Disrespect had to say. He's more loyal to NickMercs having a skin than... Oh, God. Keep in mind, I did not pre-watch these clips. Hassan reacts to Dr. Disrespect uninstalling COD following the removal of NickMercs bundle. Oh, boy.
Yes, he is more loyal to... He's more loyal to NickMercs having his skin than his own wife. I know. Yes.
Okay, I don't like to involve people's families and shit like this. I don't like involving people's families and like internet drama and stuff like that. But I gotta be honest, that was fucking savage. Oh my God.
Oh shit!
Holy shit, my guy. For those of you guys who don't know, maybe some of you guys don't understand, a few years back, Dr. Disrespect had a pretty big drama where he basically admitted that he was unfaithful to his wife. So, oh boy.
He's more loyal to that. I mean, he's also more loyal to Shungite, really. Bro, up the Shungite. You know what I mean? Just add a little bit more Shungite to that diet. Put it around La Casa. Okay, little pyramids, that sort of thing.
Jesus.
I feel like we don't have enough Shungite in La Casa right now.
Oh,
That's a tough one.
Jesus. That was fucking nuts.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Holy shit. I'm loving this Hassan stuff. Oh, you know, I don't normally watch Hassan. But I gotta be honest, like I'm kind of agreeing with his takes on this particular situation. All right, so we got Tim the Tap Man also chiming in on the situation. And Tim the Tap Man, if you've ever watched Tim or you know anybody who's interacted with Tim, they will tell you that Tim is like one of the nicest fucking people in the world. The nicest fucking people in the world, right? So Obviously, he's going to bat for his boy Nick, and I see a lot of people chiming in, like, oh, "Why are you defending a bigot? Are you a bigot too?" and stuff like that. I don't think that's the case. I genuinely don't think that's the case for Tim. But I'm going to show you guys a statement from Tim. Tim the Tapman discussed the backlash NickMercs is experiencing right now and said that he spoke to him. Here we go.
A lot of you saw what happened with Nick yesterday. So I'm going to just say this at the front, man. I love Nick. I talked to him for about 30 minutes last night. I know him, bro. And I truly do not think he meant to hurt anyone with what he said. It really, all I can say is this, man. Tapman Army, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. All right. We talked for a while last night, and he's doing all right. But that's all I can really say on it, man. That's all I'm really going to say on it. A lot of you saw what happened.
Yeah, all I can really say is, like, look, these are his friends. Obviously, they want to go to bat for their friend, right? Like, I've been in a situation before. I've been in many situations before where fellow creators I'm friendly with are in the crosshairs and they're catching shit, and like it's just a thing when you consider this person like that's your fucking boy or your homie. Like, you want to go to bat for them. Like, it's a very human thing, right? So I get it. Like, I totally get it. I can empathize with someone like Tim in this situation where it's like, dude, I'm watching my boy get shit on. And like, I know that what they think he is not what he is, right? So it's frustrating to like watch that, right? Yes, he said something stupid, but he said it because he doesn't know any better, right? And unfortunately, all these people on social media, with the exception of the one tweet we read earlier, I forget who it was, nobody wants to have a conversation with him about this. They just want to villainize him for it, right? And it's unfortunate because I think that conversations like that could lead to positive change, but nobody wants to have those conversations. They just want to yell and holler and grab the torch and pitchforks and destroy someone. And I think that that's not the appropriate way to handle these situations. So after a while, NickMercs did break his silence on this situation, and he chimed in with the following tweet. Friends are created in good times, but families are built through adversity. Appreciate all of you that have my back, understand my position as a new father, and recognize the love I have for all. Ain't no hate in this heart, peace and love. And I believe that. I really, truly believe that he is not the hateful person that so many people think he is. I just think he's ill-informed, as so many people on social media who chime in on this stuff are, right? And they have a bad take. That's not to say that everyone who says stuff like what he said is coming from a place of ignorance. There are a lot of hateful people out there. I picked an interesting time to get into politics when there's so much conversations going on around, the trans community and gay communities, the LGBTQ community as a whole. There are very polarizing conversations happening around these communities right now. And it seems like that's all people on the far right want to talk about, is villainizing the LGBTQ plus community, right? So there's a lot of very hateful people having very hateful conversations on social media right now. And the unfortunate reality that I don't think a lot of people want to accept is the fact that so many normies are getting swept up in this stuff. They're getting swept up in this stuff and they're believing the narrative, and it's resulting in them making really bad takes, just like the one NickMercs made. That's the issue, right? That's why we need to be more open to having conversations with these people instead of just villainizing them, because they're falling into the trap of the bullshit narratives that the far right is spreading. And instead of using that as an opportunity to educate them on, hey, this is wrong and here's why, instead, let's grab the torch and pitchforks and let's villainize them. And that doesn't help anything. How do we expect people to become better people and better educated on this stuff if we're instantly just like, they're a hateful bigot, they're not worth our attention? You know? I can totally understand that approach to legitimately hateful people. But when you have normies like this that just bought into some bullshit, I think it's more important to educate those people rather than villainizing them. Next up, more support for Nick from Tim the Tapman. He says, NickMercs has been my friend for years. We went in getting our COD operators together. It feels wrong for me to have mine and him no longer have his. In support of my friend, please remove the Tim the Tapman bundle at Call of Duty. So again, supporting his friend. And I get it. I get it. I've been in that position so many times before where people on the internet are extremely angry with someone that I'm friends with. And they're putting labels on my friend that I'm just like, I know that label doesn't fit. I've known this person long enough and I've gotten close enough to this person to know that the label that you are putting on this person doesn't fucking fit. And so understandably, you want to go to bat for them. So I know that people look at like what the doc did, which what the doc did is kind of cringy. I'm just going to be honest. It's kind of cringy and performative. But I can look at what the doc is doing and I can look at what Tim is doing. And it's just like, they're just supporting their boy. Because they know all these people on the internet calling them hateful towards the LGBTQ plus community. They know it's not true, right? They know it's not true. It's just, he's just coming from a place of being ill-informed. I truly and honestly believe that. So this is what I had to say on the situation on social media. I tweeted this out. I don't think NickMercs is a bad dude. I just think he's coming from a place of ignorance. And I don't mean that as a slight. I feel like people who have these knee-jerk reactions see what people claim is happening in schools on social media, but don't actually know. Personally, I don't have a problem with pride being acknowledged in schools. I think it teaches kids not to discriminate against members of the LGBTQ plus communities and show support to youth in those communities who are still figuring themselves out and where they fit in. It's not about indoctrination or, quote, turning kids gay. It's about treating other people as equals. And I think that's a positive thing to teach kids. That was my stance on the situation. I also want to highlight a thread by Vito, who actually had a good way of putting it as well. I remember what high school was like for gay kids. I had one friend who was terrified of being outed, as he knew it would brand him as a weirdo and an outcast. This is why I support teaching basic respect and tolerance for homosexuality in schools. No kid should live in fear. This isn't about indoctrination, it's about acceptance. These are core American values every child should understand. And I agree. I agree. So, that's kind of where I stand on this. I don't agree with what NickMercs said. I think that pride in schools is just fine. Okay, I am in favor of pride being acknowledged in schools. I think that it teaches kids how to treat members of the LGBTQ plus community as equals, and I think it shows support for kids who are existing members of those communities. And I think that is a net positive for everyone. All right, we don't want kids growing up to be hateful towards these communities. And I think if we use something like Pride Month as an opportunity to educate these kids on these things, then we won't have to grow up into a world. They won't have to grow up into a world where people are continuing to be hateful towards people in these communities. All right. I think that that's a positive thing. And the last thing I want to say before I wrap up this segment is I don't have contact with NickMercs anymore, but I'm hoping somebody can send this to NickMercs and he'll see it. You and I, we've had a conflict in the past, and we had a one-on-one conversation after that conflict rather. And we found some common ground, and I think we had an overall positive conversation. I think we can have a positive conversation like that yet again in regards to this situation. It doesn't have to be content. It doesn't have to happen on stream. Okay? We can have a private conversation about it. And I think that if you allowed me to take the time to have a constructive conversation with you about this and what's actually happening in schools that celebrate Pride, I think that you would have a very different perspective on this, and I think it's worth having that conversation. So if by some chance you happen to see this and you are open to having a conversation with me, please reach out to me. I look forward to hopefully hearing from you in regards to that, and maybe we can have that talk.